bridges we build,
we lost track of time.
when life gets tough and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Right here. And when you need a friend, you can count
my Muppet partner.
I'll be right here, waiting for you.
I hope you guys are dancing with us today.
This is the place you can always
Here,
turn to.
let me give it to you.
The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who have been listening to the show and coming back and back again, thank you. Welcome back. But if you are new and you've stumbled upon the Lillian McDermott radio show, this is what the show is about. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to live the life of your dreams. And while you're doing this, embrace a new truth. Embrace this truth because you know what? The things that we were taught when we were little supported us when we were little. But as we get older, they may not support us anymore. So it's time to break out of our old ways and discover new ways to live a healthier life, a happier life, a wise life, a more prosperous life. What do you want? And so today we're going to be talking about an aspect of what many of us get stuck in, which is we get stuck in the problems of our lives. And so I wanted to, it's that time again where we get to dissect my article that I write every month for Florida Today. But before I do that, I want to remind all of you who are listening that today is July 11th. I normally don't date myself, but I am going to date myself because it's important for those of you who would like to be a part of the Heal Tribe in the Space Coast from 5:30 to 8:30. We're going to have a wonderful meal made by Lucy at the Nature's Market Healthy Food or Health Foods. And she's going to teach us how to do a dry saute, how to create, listen to this menu. Appetizer is white bean dip with crostini cucumbers, tomato basil, arugula bruschetta. Then dinner, we're going to have grilled eggplant with cashew lemon garlic aioli, lentil pasta primavera with cauliflower alfredo, and oven roasted balsamic green beans. And for dessert, yes, we will have a whole food plant-based dessert, black bean brownies with strawberries and coconut cream. No oils, no sugars, all gluten-free, all healthy. Food to live for. So tonight, we're going to have this presentation. After the presentation, I'm going to be speaking on the 8 keys to living the life of your dreams. Again, this event starts at 5:30. You need to prepay to go to this event. So if you want to go to this event and you want to RSVP, we're going to make some exceptions for our listeners. This is the Space Coast Heal Tribe today from 5:30 to 8:30. And you can call or text me at 407-373-5959. That's 407-373-5959. Now, for those of you who are in the Space First Coast, I want to say this correctly because on Monday I messed it up 10 times. On the First Coast, the next Heal Tribe is August 15th. Sephora and I and the Jack Speaking couple and the Lillian McDermott radio show, we have an event that we had a conflict. So we're moving it to August 15th. So there is no Heal Tribe in Jacksonville, First Coast this month, but next month, August 15th, we resume. And in the Space Coast, if you can't make this one, in the Space Coast, Heal Tribe will meet on August 8th. I got all these dates out. So for those of you who want more information about today's event, you can text me or call me at 407-373-5959. 5959. If you can't make it for the dinner, which that's what costs the $20, it's a self-paid event, you can make it for the talk maybe later on. So we'll start the talk around 6:45. So that's when we're going to start the talk about the 8 keys to living the life of your dreams. And so with that in mind, I'm going to switch real quick. I'm going to switch because it is that time again where I get to just pour myself out, whatever is happening in my life, and write about it at Florida Today. And this time I wrote about being the solution. And because it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I've got Tim Walters of Florida Today, my editor, Swiss Knife Army editor, joining us. Welcome, Tim, to the Lillian McDermott radio show.
Hey, Lillian. Thank you for having me as always. Good to see you.
I know, lots to cover today because I have a huge acronym, huh?
Yes. It's big enough. It's 4 letters long?
I think more than that. I think this is a double bonus. I have a FEAR acronym that I wrote a long time ago. Follow every avenue required to live the life of your desire. So that's the acronym for FEAR. I change it around so that we can focus on what we want as opposed to what we don't want. But this time, the acronym is SOLUTION. So today, when we come back, Tim, we're gonna let you take over as we dissect this article. Is that good?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
I am looking forward to it too. And we're going to continue our conversation with Tim Walters about my article on Florida Today called I Am the Solution. Are you the solution? We'll see. And we'll be continuing our conversation worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. I got all of that in the first segment. High five me. High five me.
I thought you were talking about fear, not solution. I was like, 4 letters? It's not that huge.
Well, did you not realize that there was an acronym?
You know what? Not until you just said it. That's why I was looking at my paper. And luckily, I highlighted each of the main words. So I was like, SOLUT.
Two acronyms for the price of one.
You've thrown me off. Now I'm going to have to look for 3 next time. Then you're going to have to write nothing but acronyms. It's going to be so hard to do.
It's the evolution of an article for Lillian McDermott.
It's like last year when our education reporter on Dr. Seuss Day, she wrote her entire story about it in rhyme like Dr. Seuss.
Oh,
and
my
it
God.
was so intelligently done. But gosh, that must have been hard writing it in that exact rhyme and pentameter and, the cadence. And I thought she did an amazing job with that.
Oh, boy, that is difficult because, when you're inspired and you allow yourself when you open yourself for this download from the great universe, God, the universe that we all have it within us, when we allow that download to occur, Tim, it's amazing the things that flow. Sometimes I go back to my articles and I go, I obviously did not write this. I was inspired by the divine and it flowed through me, through my fingers. And sometimes I just can't take the credit, although I did write it. I was the vessel by which the communication occurred. So we'll get to talk about your thoughts. Now, do you want to reread the article while we're on break?
No. Well, I certainly have a better sense of what's going on now. Hooray. In fact, from now on, I'm only going to talk in rhyme. So let's all do it on time. We're on the go on the Lillian McDermott radio show.
Oh, you've moved up to the oh. This is awesome. Actually, I love doing things like that. But again, it's divine. Whenever you see somebody that has written a beautiful book or written a beautiful poem or sings a beautiful song, you know that they're so connected to the divine. You're quiet. This is funny. You just realized solution was the other acronym. I've already given you fear acronym. I wrote that article a long time ago.
407-379-5959.
Am I coming in or are you?
Once again, here's Lillian.
Me. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show. I just made a decision right now, but I'm going to hand it over to Tim because Tim is going to take over the show. He actually is hijacking the show, but willingly. I guess that wouldn't be called a hijack. It would be called willingly handing over the show.
A change of command?
A change of command. That's good. That's a good one. So we just discovered something during the break. Tim and I do an interview on television. When is the television interview going to be on, Tim?
Should be on this Sunday at 6 p.m. on WEF, or at 5:30 p.m. I'm sorry, on WEFS TV. Okay.
So the segment between the two of us, we do television together for Florida Today, but we only have about 10 minutes. It's a 10-minute segment. But just now during the break, when Tim just realized something. So before we go anywhere, I always ask you before we get started on the show, what did you think about the article?
Well, at first I see I am the solution, and I think to myself, you know what, Lillian is the solution. But you were talking about I as in me, personally, each one of us.
Yes.
And so I like to always, I sit down and I read it through, and then I read it through a second time, and I start to highlight things. And, you immediately start talking about, fear, and then how fear can keep us from joy, achievement, adventure, and from living the life we want. And of course, you start thinking of your own examples of, a time when maybe fear has stopped you from, trying to attempt something or do something in life, whatever it may be. And then the one that I really came to is you say, as a result, we continue to focus on what we don't have. And to me, that was kind of the greater point where you think of, our thing-based society, where, people, they always, they want what their neighbor has instead of worrying about their own household. I want the bigger thing, the shinier thing, the newer thing, the new iPad, and so we look at people who have those things and we say we want them, but we don't realize that person that has them probably had to, work really hard and be determined. And obviously some people have entitlements in life, but,
sure.
Most people that have things work really hard to achieve them. And then you have somebody saying, well, I want what he wants. Well, are you willing to work that hard for it? So that's kind of where I went with the opening of your article in talking about fear and that type of focus and that lack.
Yes, yes. And so, for people who follow me on Instagram or my social media or whenyouneedafriend.com, that I do these stories. Every day I have a little story. Yesterday I forgot to post my story, but those things do happen and it's rare. But just recently I told Tim, I said, I wrote 2 articles this month. Because I had this one article on friendship and renewing and restoring old friendships. And I had gone to the beach because I was dealing with something that I have to make a decision on. And I was focusing on the problem. And I remember as I was walking, that was like last week, I had gone to the beach and there were some black clouds. I mean, you knew it was going to rain. But then to the left of the black clouds, there was this beautiful sunrise. It was so radiant and shiny, and it was like in my face. But if you look to the right, you can certainly focus on those clouds. And then if you look to the left, you can focus on the sunrise. 2 completely contrasting emotions, right? And so I did a story where I put the word problem over the dark clouds, and then I put the word solution over the sun that was rising, and then I reposted that story. But when I went back, this was Monday, so when I went back on Wednesday, I had a problem that I needed to work on. And when I got there, the clouds were in front of the sun. I could not see the sun, but I knew that someone behind the clouds was having this beautiful sunrise. On me, on my side, I was just focused on the cloud. And then what came out of my mouth was, I could only see the problem. I could only see the problem. And then that shifted to, I am the problem. I am the problem. And so as I thought, I need to walk, and I'm walking, and then all of a sudden I'm like, if I'm the problem, what do I need to do? What do I need to? And then I kept saying, you need to focus on the solution. And so if I'm the problem, I could also be the solution. And after I was done with my walk, Tim, I ran back to my chair as I wrote this article on the beach saying, I am the solution. I am the solution. So with that in mind, that's how this article started. And so I wanted to start with fear because fear was keeping me from seeing the solution. And so that's why I wrote the article.
All right. Well, and you know, I like how you put a positive spin almost on the word fear when you break it down in 4 letters. It's a reminder to follow every avenue required.
Yes.
So now you're taking fear and you're starting to spin it.
Yes.
Because you're starting to work toward that solution. So I thought that was, you know, a really smart way to take something that holds you back and then pivot it 180 degrees to start getting you in that direction that you want to go. So, you know, as you were doing that, was that kind of your train of thought in building it that way?
Absolutely. You know, we need to shift. We need to create a shift that when we feel that we're focused on the problem, what we want, we focus on what we want, right? But instead of focusing on what we want, we focus on what we don't want. That becomes the squeaky wheel. That is how we like focus. Oh, I don't like this person, or this person is a problem. And this person, and, you know, we blame others. We blame others for what our lack is. And we focus on that blame. But if I were to internalize it, and if I turn that shift just slightly, like I was looking at the cloud versus the sunrise, that shift that I made to see the beauty, then we can focus on the solution. And so with that in mind, I was able to shift, and I thought, if I want to focus on what I want. I don't want the problem. So how can I be the solution? I am the solution is what came to me. And so we're all that way. We just need to shift. And so what are our desires? What are our goals? What is driving us? What are our wishes? That's what we focus on, because what we focus on is what we get most of. So what do you want?
Exactly. You know, and that's the hardest part, is training your mind once you have kind of that negative, you know, train of mind, or, you know, looking at things in more of a bleak manner, is turning it around and being positive. You know, it's very easy for people to be negative, but it's very hard to stay positive when there's so many negatives around you.
Sure.
So, you know, retraining your mind, changing your attitude. And I think part of it is just patience and tolerance, which as a society we've lost. And when you're intolerant and when you're impatient, you're going to be negative. You're always going to look at the I can't, or this is why I can't type of point of view, rather than, you know, moving ahead, moving past that. Because the simplest way to succeed in life is to say, I'm going to do it. It's that easy, because that's the first step, is that attitude on, you know, getting past that fear, on getting past that, you know, on working toward being your solution.
Yeah, I want to add to what you're saying, Tim, because it's so important. You know, people know what they don't want. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be an alcoholic. I don't want to marry an alcoholic. I don't want to be late. I don't want to miss out. I don't want to work here anymore. We know what we don't want, but here's the shift that we need to make. The brain doesn't realize the command prior to what you're saying. Like if I say, I can't wait. What the brain registers is wait. The brain does not know fact or fiction. And the brain, because it reacts to it, just like if you watch a movie that's a scary movie, your body will react to it. You know that's not happening, right? But you're like jumping in your seat. You're screaming like a little girl because someone is coming at you. At least that's what I do. But the problem is here is that the brain is not working with what you think you're doing. So if you're saying, I can't do that, what I hear is do that. And so I'm driving down the street and I see, don't drink and drive. And I'm thinking, that campaign is not going to work. It's not going to work because what we're registering is drink and drive. So how about be sober? When you drive, be sober. That registers. So if we can just shift from that don't, can't mentality to I am, I will, I can, then now we're going to be following every avenue required to live the life that we desire.
It's that call to action is what it is, you know,
Yes.
as opposed to it being like a sedentary type of frame of mind or phrase. So I think that's a great point. Also, I do want to bring this up. You comment that the world says, fake it till you make it. And then you quote yourself. Why don't you tell us what you say instead of fake it till you make it?
Well, it's the progression of, because I talk about this in the article, I talk about the progression of action. So first it's a thought, then the thought becomes a feeling, and then that feeling becomes an action. If I think happy thoughts, I feel happy. And then I'll just go out there and I'm just abundant with giving love and laughter and all that. That's the progression of a thought. And I always say, nip it in the thought. That's where we need to nip it. But the quote, my own quote, is, if the world says fake it till you make it, I say think it until you feel it and then do it. You're just nodding your head.
I'm letting that sink in for the audience, Lillian. We got to let them think about it.
Think it till you feel it.
Think it till you feel it,
then do it.
And that's part of that, go-getter mentality I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is, the first step, as I said, is to change your frame of mind. But the second thing is go do it.
Go do it.
Go do it. There is a saying. Unfortunately, I don't think I have it up here.
You can find it during the break, yeah?
Yeah, but there's a great saying. It was from Walt Disney, and it's something to the effect of, the way to get started is by doing it. It was something that's simple. You're right, during the break, I'll find it and share it with the audience after that. But I've always loved that phrasing of it, because it's just basically telling people, hey, it's right there in front of you,
Yes.
Now do it.
Yes. Well, we need to break the cycle. And so the article is about breaking the cycle. So I use the acronym, which Tim just realized. I love it. I said, Tim, you need to reread my article now with this as the acronym. It's SOLUTION. The acronym for today's, actually the article comes out tomorrow, right? But it's online. You can find it at whenyouneedafriend.com. You can go to my About Lillian, my article section, or you can go to Florida Today, because it's on there already, right?
Yeah, floridatoday.com/health. Yes, it's been up since yesterday morning. And I believe the video that we did should be attached to it. The one that will be on TV this weekend. I'm not sure. I'll double check with our technical producer this morning. However, it should be, I think.
Yes. And so it's a cycle. And so the whole article is about breaking the cycle, the victim cycle of focusing on the problem. You are the problem. You are the problem. Everybody else is the problem. But if we live like that, then we're giving everybody the power. But if I turn it around, if I shift and I say, okay, I am the solution. Now, can you imagine what this life would be like if, Tim, you're the solution and I'm the solution? We'd be working together to create that harmony in the world.
Boy, wouldn't that be a nice thing? Unfortunately, too many negativisms floating around. Is that a word, negativism?
It is today.
It is too much of that floating around. But you're right. I mean, it's all about, positive people can work together in a positive way. But the second a negative floats in, it breaks apart.
Well, Tim, we're going to have to see if we can tackle the word solutions when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We're going to continue our conversation. If you have any questions or comments, call 407-373-5959 or text me, 407-373-5959. We'll be right here waiting for you. So I keep hearing that buzzing. Is that your phone?
No.
Sounds like a wounded cow going,
Yeah, unfortunately, I should have shut my door. I think my wife might have the laundry going, and I think that was the dryer buzzing. So I apologize about that.
So, Tim, the goal is going to be, do you think we can get through the words? So the reason why I wrote, when I was looking at the article, I wanted to keep the word strategize, organize. I wanted to keep it so that people could see it on the left-hand side. I don't know if that's how you placed it on the article, but I wanted, strategize, organize. So let's look at all the words: strategize, organize, learn, urgency, think positively, intuition, open, needs, solution. And
well, I bold them so you can see it as solution, but there's so much text in between them, it's probably hard to
really.
And remember, the column doesn't just keep going continuously down the page; it has to break into.
Well, I wonder how it's going to look in the paper. Will the paper be able to put it in like that?
Well, no, that's what I'm talking about. In the paper, you wouldn't run it just as one straight column all the way down. It's just not how design works. So.
Oh, well. hopefully
Yeah.
people will get it.
And that's why I missed it, because normally, like, I saw fear early on, and I was like, oh, just short
short and
acronym
sweet.
this week. You know, we didn't really delve into it. And then normally you will point something out about the solution, which, you know what, now I see you did it at the very end, which is probably why. See, I'm dumb. You got to get it up higher. So I can be like, oh, okay, caveman, get it now. Let's see.
Ooh, fire. Well, you know what? I think that, and Robert goes, why did you pick such a long, because the one for next month is friendship. And he goes, why didn't you just stop at friend?
Yeah, or ship.
Or ship. So, but that's just how my brain works. You know, it's like I was focusing on a problem and I wanted to be the solution. And that's what the whole thing is. Do you think that we'll be able to get through the acronym now that you know it's an acronym?
I mean, we're just going to have to move on. How much? We've got 2 segments left. Is that right? Or 1 segment? 2?
2. Remember
I don't
that
have a clock up in my room either.
Remember that time I forgot? I lost track of time, and I was like, "We'll be right back." I'm like, "No, we're done."
No, yeah, we were not coming back.
We've had some really fun. You know, I wish we could take like little clips of the times that we've been together, and especially the one where we did the article on the S and F word. And I asked people when was the last time they F somebody, and
I still cringe when I hear that.
Yeah. So the words, the S and F word, were what? Do you remember the words?
Oh boy, forgive, and
the F word was forgive, and the S word was shame.
Oh, I was going to say share. I would have been a letter off.
Well, I'm glad you didn't do this word.
It's been a couple of years, you know. Yeah. Oh, poop emoji. Alert. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Alert. Alert.
Oh, so I just got a text.
Where do we go from here?
I just got a text. Your breakthrough today on your show. Sounds like a lot of landmark.
I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to quickly do the intro and then
text Lillian McDermott or
let's
leave
start
her
on the
407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow together. Today's teacher is Tim Walters, my editor, one of my favorite editors in Florida today. And we are talking about my next article, I Am the Solution. And the reason why I wrote it, I Am the Solution, is because I wanted my article to be an affirmation. So when you read the title, I am the resolution or the solution, then you are affirming that in yourself. This is where we affirm and we focus on what we want and get more of what we want and focus on this being the solution. And so I want to, because this is what I want for all of you to become subscribers so that we can continue this conversation of empowerment and truth, a new truth. And so I want to, because there's so much with this acronym that I want to go through. And of course, if we don't get to the end of it, you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com and read the article. But while you're there, please become a subscriber. And when you become a subscriber, and you can catch our conversations on and off the air if you become a subscriber also on YouTube. And these shows will be sent to you in your podcast or your emails, so your tablets, your phones. So please become a sponsor. If you can find a sponsor, that would be great too. So please become a subscriber, and when you become a subscriber and you're there, you'll get free gifts and you'll be the first one to know who's on the show. But here's the thing. And there's also like things you can buy, like the books and things that you want. And my kitchen, what's in my kitchen. So there's lots of little things that you can have fun with and grow. But while you're there, please check out my sponsors. So important, because without the sponsors, this show would not happen. So if you want to be a sponsor of the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, you have to be approved. It has to be like-minded. And responsibility is the key word. Responsible businesses, responsible people. And then figure out a way that you can help our sponsors by supporting them the way they're supporting the show. You can call or text me at any time, 407-373-5959. I never answer while I'm on the show. And you can leave a message at 407-373-5959. We have a goal, Tim Walters. We have a goal. Today, we need to complete solution. We've got to complete the acronym. And so let's get started. Take over.
That's a lot of letters. So
Excellent.
let's start with strategize, which I think that one is probably the easiest one to do. When you write down what you want or dream bigger than you imagined, you're putting your dream, you're putting your words down on paper. So that's strategize. Then organize becomes a little bit more tough. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the organization and all of your steps?
So I've shared before, Tim, thank you for asking me that, because, I've shared before that I went on my first hiking trip many years ago, and just the thought of the climbing the mountain could have just paralyzed me right there. And the fear of maybe not making it to it or not being strong enough to hike with 30 pounds in my back, that could have stopped me. But what I encourage people when they organize is to figure out what the goal is and take tiny bites out of it. So the example that I give in the article is different than one I'm going to give today. So with that, with going on this hiking trip, it wasn't the first step was going to be, or I'm going to focus on going to the top of the mountain. The first step is you break it down into tiny little chunks where it's a little bit more manageable. So the first step for me was researching the hiking boots that I needed to climb the mountain. So that was a bite size that I was able to do. In the article, I talk about, for people want to get off, let's say the example I use is getting off diabetes medication. And so, so then you have 3 action items to achieve that goal. So you break down these goals into tiny little parts. Like the first one would be get the book End of Dieting or End of Diabetes. And then the second one would be, listen to the Lillian McDermott radio show. The third one is get the book, so that you can start learning how to eat G-bombs, or read the book and throw out the junk and purchase your G-bombs. So that was, then the step number 2 would be release 30 pounds, because that's part of getting off your medication. And so you break that into tiny chunks. And when you organize yourself that way, you need to know what time, by when, how much, and be specific. So that's what what organize is all about.
And learn, you say, if you need specialized training or education in order to achieve your goals, make plans to enroll, learn, and grow. There are many ways to become an expert without spending a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And then the U, urgency. I thought this one was really important. Because the time is now. Now's the time, and the time is now. It's that simple. You can sit there and you can dream and want things and, come up with your plan and your formula and all of these other things. But unless you actually do it as if tomorrow is your last day, then putting it off, taking your time, finding excuses, that's not going to fly. So I thought urgency is, possibly one of the most important letters of the solution. Because making it that priority, making it that important is, to me, just an incredibly step in the process.
Yeah, and Tim, you're right. And when you're like, when I talk about learning and having to, if you need to take classes, let's say your goal is to become a registered nurse. Well, now is not the time to become a registered nurse. Now is the time to register into school. So that urgency would be register now, get your school done now, study now. And then eventually every step that you take, you're going to get to that goal. Now, people have said to me that I coach, they say, well, I'm going to be 60 years old or 50 years old by the time I achieve that. And I say, so what? You're going to be 50 or 60 anyway. You might as well walk away with what you want. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. That's part of the stop making excuses and start making arrangements.
That's right.
I should put that on a t-shirt.
Start making arrangements for what?
Yeah. Stop making,
Yeah.
Now I forget how I said it, but we'll have to go back and listen to the replay. But then we get into the T of solution, which is think positively, which again, I think we talked about that, quite a bit earlier, is that change of frame of mind and getting to that part. So then intuition. And this is something I hadn't really, this is one that intuition's not a thing that I think a lot about or, know a lot about. So it was interesting that you threw an I for intuition. Why was that?
I went back with intuition, and I went with other words as well. But what I wanted to focus on intuition was to pay attention, to listen to your body, listen to what your spirit, your mind is telling you along the way, and own it, face it. It's that be the solution. So if your intuition is saying that I'm feeling too tired, I'm wearing myself out, and your intuition is kicking in, warning, there's something going on, then you need to pay attention to what your intuition is. Now, I'm not talking about your feelings. I don't feel like going to school today. I don't feel like, whatever. I'm talking about your intuition is telling you that something is going wrong. Pay attention, deal with it so that you can continue to be part of the solution and focusing on your goals.
All right. And the O is open. And you say along your journey, there will be people that will offer feedback. And I think this is a tough one because people in life don't generally like constructive criticism, we'll call it. But, sometimes there are people that know more than you and they're trying to help you. And you might think that they're trying to be a know-it-all or something like that. But sometimes just listening to people, getting a different perspective, hearing a different voice other than maybe the voices that are always around you. Those type of things are incredibly important. And I think a lot of people miss opportunities to do that and to get that type of outside counsel and actually listen to it and take it, because it's easy to sit here and hear good advice and then you keep doing the same thing you always do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And so, the whole point of being open is to consider, to be curious, to be flexible, to be willing, because there might be another way to achieve your goal. I remember my coach, when I was going through my life coach lessons and my own thing, I wanted all of my shows to be live, and they needed to be live. And I remember my coach saying to me, she's the coach of the coaches, she's like the grand poobah of the coaches, was my coach. And she said, "Now, Miss Lily, does it always have to be your way?" And I'm like, can there be another way? So the response would be, let me look at it. Let me curiously look at it, as opposed to, no, I'm not even going to consider it. No, let me consider it. And so, sometimes we schedule some shows, we pre-record them, and that gives me the flexibility to do other things. So I was open to hear what somebody else had to say. They're looking at it through different eyes. So just be open and curious.
All right. And then the N, the closeout solution, is needs. And you say everyone you will encounter will become part of your journey. Although we have needs, please keep in mind that you too are part of someone else's journey and they will have needs as well. It's not just about receiving, it's also about giving. And it goes along with that old saying, 'tis better to give than to receive.
And finding the balance of the two is priceless, because when you give and give and give and give and give, you are draining your account of abundantly giving, the abundance of giving. And so you're draining that account. And so then what are you going to be able to give? So then there's people that are going to be around. They're going to be taking. That's all they're going to want to do. So finding the balance and allowing people to give to you, then when you receive, that's the prize right there as well. And we're going to continue with our conversation with Tim Walters about the article on Florida Today when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Wow, we got through
We did. We
them.
blew through that.
What are we going to talk about now, Tim? We're just going to look at ourselves.
Yeah, I'm looking up my Disney quote here, actually.
You're back. You're back. But can you believe it? We've made it through solution. That is the first time we've got through all the acronyms before the third segment. High five. Another high five.
All right.
There you go. Pretty cool. Okay, so now let's go back. You went through Think Positively, and that one I thought was important as well. And we'll talk about it off the air because people will tune in that have heard the show, and I don't want to repeat this. But, we've talked about how we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. And well, depending on, some people have 40 or maybe 2. And of those thoughts, the 90% of these thoughts are reoccurring, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. So it's about positive thinking, but it's not about Pollyanna kind of thinking. Feel what's going on, allow it to get through your body, because that was part of the intuition. They kind of work together. Because if you're trying to think positive and ignore that the house is burning, you know, you have to deal with these things. But when you deal with it, you allow it to just like flow through you instead of sticking in you and being part of that 80% of the negative thoughts. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to go too far. Oh dear, the house is on fire. I'm going to sit here and smile.
Yeah.
It's a little too positive.
You know, interestingly enough, and how much time do we have, Brian? I was going to interview this guy. Oh, we got plenty of time. A minute and 30 seconds. You can build a house on that when it's silent. Okay, so I was interviewing somebody. I was going to interview somebody that was talking about something horrible, like that was happening to their kid. And they were talking it like this. They were saying, yeah, and we learned about this, and they're in the middle of it. And they were like smiling, and I'm like, one of these things just doesn't belong here. Yes, you can be grateful for the experience, and yes, you can be, but I know that if I'd be talking about my kid being sick, I'd be crying the whole entire interview. But I'm not trying to judge it, because everybody deals with things a different way. But are you really processing what's happening in your life so that it comes out of your body? Because we talked about how trauma can stay in our body, and that can manifest disease too. So it's one of those things where everybody, I guess, deals with things differently. I wasn't trying to judge it, but I wondered at that moment, is that person really dealing with the reality of the gravity of what's happening?
Yeah, that's, I'm just thinking back to, my
Isabella.
own situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't think I started smiling until after her surgery was deemed a success.
And you were given the thumbs up that everything was good, right?
I'll be right here waiting for you.
Oh, take over, Tim. This is your
Text
turn.
Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at
Got it?
407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. This is Tim Walters of Florida Today, and I am Lillian's guest this week, but I am taking over the last segment of the show so I can interrogate Lillian on her latest article, which we've been discussing for now about the past 45 minutes or so. And so Lillian's article this week, just to give a quick recap, is I Am the Solution, and it's talking about how we can overcome things from taking them from the problem and from the fears that stop you from doing something into actually doing it. So it's a great read. If you want to check it out, you can go to floridatoday.com/health, or you could also go to whenyouneedafriend.com, which is Lillian's website, or you can find it on Facebook, search for Lillian McDermott and When You Need a Friend. So there are so many ways to read the article that, we want to make sure that you guys get out there and check out what we've been talking about.
And it's in the paper tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. It is in tomorrow's Florida Today's health section in print as well. I think so digitally these days, I almost forget about our old friend, the newspaper. So, so we've just broken down the word solution, which, each letter: strategize, organize, learn, urgency, think positively, intuition, open, and needs. And, basically getting to the point that if I am the solution, I can no longer blame others. What about the people who refuse to change? So, Lillian, did you want to kind of answer that question?
People who refuse to change. And I can hear all the people listening to me today going, oh, that's such bunk. Because if you only knew my boss, and if you only knew my spouse, and if you only knew my teenagers, if you only knew then you would not say, I am the solution. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are a problem in your life. But are you going to focus on what you don't want, or are you going to focus on what you want? You're still the solution. They may be a issue in your life that you have got to learn to work around, and when I was climbing, I remember when I was going back, because this climbing the mountain, this hiking trail that I did back in, I think it was 2016, 2015, I can't remember. It was so long ago, it seems like. There was a log in our pathway. There was a log, and it was a narrow path. And I had to really balance to get over all these logs so that I can go past it. So what I did is I knew what was happening, right? I was aware of what was happening, but I knew I needed to get past that to get to where I needed to go. And so we figure out ways to be creative, ways to kind of like work around it, ways to, you don't have to tolerate, you can figure out different ways to work it, but just work it amicably. And so it doesn't have to be an adversarial situation. So please remember, we are still the solution, and don't give your power away and just focus on the problem that is in front of you. Focus on the solution and what you want to create. If you want someone to be kinder, gentler, be that solution. Be kinder, be gentler. And if they say something negative, you can translate it in your head as, I really feel that this person had a very sad childhood. Perhaps maybe I can love them through this. Something to help you get through that difficult person. That makes sense, Tim?
Absolutely. I think of an example of a newsroom I worked at before I was at Florida Today. And I had this reporter, I was the sports editor at a small newspaper, and I had this reporter, he was an older guy, and he was that grumpy guy. You turned into Archie Bunker a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, this is bunk, meathead. But, I worked with that guy. And so one day, he was just being so obstinate. And I said, you don't really have to be like this. I said, I'm one of the nicer people you're going to meet, yet you're still mean to me. You come in with a bad attitude. I said, all you have to do is just try and change your state of mind and wake up and say, today, I'm going to try and be nice to Tim. And he goes, oh, you're trying to do that head, junk, and you're not going to mess with me. I was basically just asking him to try and be nice. And he's telling me I'm trying to rewire his brain, as if I'm some sort of psychologist. And there is a psychology to it, but I'll never forget that guy because he was one of the angriest, least positive people I've ever met. And the one time where I tried to, just rather than butt heads with him, I tried saying, we can, we don't have to have this relationship where you're mean to me every day. And he just had to. That was him. He was mean to everyone else. He was mean to me as his boss. And, it just got tiresome.
Well, it's okay. So I have this saying, when someone's in denial, telling them they're in denial doesn't get them out of denial. It puts them deeper into denial. There's a lot of denial to go around. But here's the thing. We can't give feedback. We can't give constructive feedback to people that are not open to that. So what do you do instead? It's time to break the cycle. How do I overcome someone who is just so nasty? You send them love from afar. I remember having to deal with someone remember I did that article on, forgiveness and the embracing the S and F word, so the F was, the S was shame and the F was forgiveness. And the article is at Florida Today. You can go to whenyouneedafriend.com as well. And all my articles are on there. But just know that there have been people in my life where I know I've got to deal with these people. So privately, I go through my putting that armor, that cloak, that whatever protection on me. And what I do is I start sending them love. I start sending them peace. I start sending them joy. I start sending them abundance. I start sending them gratitude. And what you send to people will come back to you 100 times fold. 100. It's in the Bible. Look it up. So that is how I prepare myself. It's in Ephesians, put on the cloak, put the armor, put all this stuff, put on the vestments, all that. But this is how you do it. You send people what you want to receive. If you're saying that's an SOB, I can't believe him, blah, 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 he's such a jerk, you'll get that back too. We got to be smart about what we want. So focus on what we want.
Oh, I was nice to this guy. He was
I know
still
you
just
were.
mean.
I know you were. But
He was
telling
just
him,
mean.
yeah, and you know what? It gives him more reason. It puts fuel in their tank to be angry and poison and all. Like Wayne Dyer says, it's not the. And I know he borrowed this quote from somebody else. I can't remember, but I heard it from Wayne Dyer. He said, "It's not the snake bite that kills you. It's the venom that runs through your blood that does it."
Yeah, my grandmother used to just say, "Kill him with kindness."
That's it. And you were doing that. But people just, if they're not open, that was probably one of my greatest lessons. When someone is not open to feedback, it doesn't matter what you say. It's just going to get them angry. So
I agree. No, I agree fully. But I've also learned to deal with people like that better, but I've never met a personality like that. I mean, I was pretty young in my career, and it was just such a surprising type of personality to run into because, I've been working since, I was 16. Second I turned 16, I had a job. I worked fast food. You deal with the public. I worked at a shoe store through college. I worked at different newspapers, and just, there's a lot of negativity in a lot of those different things.
Yeah, but so here's the thing. What did this guy teach you? This grumpy old man, what did he teach you not to be?
Oh, absolutely. He taught me that I don't want to be that type of person as I get older, and I don't want to treat other people like that. Yeah, it's a great lesson. And it was a great learning experience for me in my mid-20s because that was, an eye-opening experience.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's the shift. If we can just focus on being the solution and just take that little shift and focus from those dark clouds and capture that sunrise. And when you're in that sunrise and you're in that moment, it's just, you're just beaming and you're receiving the warmth and the love that situation. But yeah, you can focus on the cloud, and it's about to rain any minute. I better run, I'm going to go get my umbrella because I better leave that sunrise because I need to prepare for all the negative things that are going to happen as soon as it starts raining. So it's just that shift. And I'm hoping that through this article, that in this lesson that I was able to receive at the beach and rewrite my article, that it might be blessing to somebody else. And I appreciate, Tim, that when you take my articles, you just devour them and put them in pretty much intact in the paper. So thank you.
Absolutely. No problem. Thank you. And keep walking on the beach. You seem to get struck by a lot of inspiration for a lot of your columns on the beach.
That's right. Better than lightning, huh? So we'll focus on this inspiration as opposed to the lightning. And we're going to continue this conversation next month, right, Tim?
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Yay. Woo. We did it. Gosh, this is the first time ever we got through the whole acronym. We've had to rush through it, but you did a really good job taking over.
Awesome. Thank you. And actually, I have a meeting I have to run off to at work, so I am going to bid adieu. I appreciate it as always.
Yes, and us too. Look forward to our next conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a 9:30 about sharks.
Sharks. Is it Shark
Sharks. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, and we're doing a week-long thing on sharks. And I'm writing last month I did a fact or fiction on alligators, and this month I'm doing a fact or fiction on sharks. So,
Yeeks. I wonder if I can write a book, not a book, but an article on how we resemble the gators and the sharks. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.